All right, tonight's homework for September 13th is multiplying and dividing integers. The first 12 are multiplying integers, either 2 or 3. Make sure you follow your rules on negatives multiplied by a positive and the various rules of that. So take your time on those. There are a few double-digit multiplication problems that might need your attention. I was going to scroll down and focus on the fractions, the scary fractions. The whole point in class keeps being made that fractions shouldn't scare you. Fractions on this case are just a representation of division. So we have 13 through 24 representing the numerator divided by the denominator. And I'm just going to choose one. Let's go with 18. So on 18, all right, 18. First off, I have a negative divided by a positive. So my result of this, my quotient, is going to be a negative result. So I'm going to put negative. And 36 divided by 3. 36 divided by 3, let's see, comes out to be 12. So that's negative 12. So number 18, check your answer. If you have negative 12, great work. Some of them are going to be just a memorization. So if I look at 20, you should know 56 divided by 7 is 8. So it's 8, but now determining whether it's positive or negative, because I have a positive divided by negative, I'm going to turn that into negative 8. Okay, and to check yourself, you can take your quotient answer, negative 8 times the denominator. Does that get you back to the numerator? And yes, negative 8 times negative 7 does result in 56. So we're okay there. Nothing else on those except for maybe, let's just look at 24, because you have a negative in the numerator and the denominator. That just represents a negative divided by another negative, which in those rules we discussed, that should come out to be a positive. So then we're really just focusing on those that would turn into positive. 60 divided by 12 is 5. So 24, you had 5. It's positive 5 because a negative divided by negative is positive. Page 2 on the back was really the area I felt that might cause a little more trouble. Sorry. So let's talk about the back, especially towards the end. You're going to be plugging into the expressions, and we want to make sure we get off to a good start with that. We had focused on that on order of operations as well, and showing our work is important there. So let's back up just a little. Let's see, got some absolute value. Let's go to 27. 27. Give myself a little more room here. 27. We practiced reading these problems in class together, and we really wanted to focus on saying the opposite of the absolute value of negative 13 times 7. The opposite of the absolute value of negative 13 times 7 is the problem. We discussed absolute value in class being the distance a number that's within the symbol is from 0 on a number line. So I'm going to go ahead and take this part in red that I've underlined and say that that's 13. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my negative sign. The absolute value of negative 13 is 13. So I have negative 13 times 7, a negative times a positive times a positive integer is going to result in a negative, and then I take 13 times 7. So I get negative 91 as a result on 27. We'll scroll down to 29. Once again, the key to being successful on these is starting to read them right. It helps you if you know how to express it in words. So I have negative 4 times negative 8 times the absolute value of negative 5. So let's go ahead and address the absolute value first in this problem. So I'm going to circle it. The absolute value of negative 5 means the distance from 0 to negative 5 on a number line. So that value should be 5. So I'm going to have negative 4 times negative 8 times 5. Really bad 8, sorry. So I have a negative times a negative is positive 32 times 5. So then I go off to the side and multiply 32 times 5. And I get 160. My answer in this case is positive because after working the absolute value, we had a negative times a negative, which should be a positive. Moving down. All right, let's see. Please make sure on the evaluate the expressions, you show your step of plugging in the different values for A, B, and C appropriately into each problem. So if I look at 31 first, so if I look at 31, I'm going to take 2 times whatever A is times whatever B is. And we've been given the values up here. We don't need the C in this problem. So when I go to write this out, I'm going to have 2 dot A has a value of negative 24. So negative 24 dot for multiplication. B was negative 6. So dot negative 6. So in this problem I have 2 times negative 24 times negative 6. So a positive times a negative should end up being a positive. And the math on that, I'll grab a different color real quick, would be the first two multiplied together is, let's see, 48. Multiplying by 6, I get 288 as my answer. So hopefully you can pause the videos if you need to, work the problems and then check, or watch a couple, then try a couple on your own, and then I'll show some more answers here in a second. But that one should be positive 288. Scrolling down, 33. Make it so 33. Let's see, C is negative 12 and B is negative 6, and we're plugging in. So I'm going to take and say this problem, the opposite of C divided by B. That's what this notation represents. The opposite of whatever C is over B is what it represents, and the over B means division. So let's replace. Negative, parentheses, C was, let's go back up and take a look at C again. See how C is a negative 12? So we plug in negative 12 for C. And then our B value was negative 6. All right, at first this looks kind of intimidating. We've got a lot of 3 negative signs going on, but take it one step at a time. The opposite of negative 12 is going to be 12. I still have a negative 6 in the denominator. And then, depending on how you want to word it, reducing or dividing 12 divided by negative 6 should be negative 2. And that's your answer. So 33 is negative 2. Let's do 2 more. And let's see, scrolling down. I'll do the last 2 for you. Well, with you. Hopefully you're trying them first and then checking. Okay? Follow along, but pause and plug in as we go. All right, so we have A first. So we have A times B. A was negative 24 and B was negative 6. So negative 24 times negative 6 is the AB part of this problem right here. Now I need minus 4 times whatever C was, and we said C was negative 12. So I'm going to use parentheses, negative 12, to remind me that that is multiplying by a negative. I'm going to use the correct order of operations. So the correct order of operations is multiplying and multiplying before we subtract. So, I'm going to do what I have underlined in orange first. 24 times 6, take a moment to do that. Twenty-four times 6, 144. Now ask yourself if that's positive or negative. Well, we had a negative times a negative, so it should be positive 144. I still bring down this sign as a minus sign. Okay, so 144 minus 4 times negative 12 is negative 48. There's several ways we've discussed this one in class. It's 144 minus negative 48. So we've talked about how that's the opposite of negative 48. And in the past, you might have learned a little hint riddle, add a line, change a sign, those kind of riddles. If that helps you, that's okay. I'm not opposed to that. So I'm going to go in here, and it becomes 144 plus 48, which, let's see, that's 192, I believe. Double check real quick. Yeah, 192. So that's your answer for 35. And looking at 36, we need to plug in, a little bigger here. We're going to plug in for A and for C. Oops, that's the wrong way. So A plus C, oops. Looking back at my values, I've already forgotten them. A plus C is negative 24 plus negative 12. In the numerator, divided by the denominator. Let's see, where did my denominator go? Oops, I've gone too far. B is negative 6. In doing this problem, we're going to take negative 24 plus negative 12, which is negative 36, and we're going to divide by negative 6. So the numerator simplified to be negative 36. The denominator is negative 6, so a negative divided by negative is going to be positive. Color. So positive 6 is our answer. So 36 was 6. All right, so we're done with that for the day. That video is a little longer than we usually are. And I have a young one right here that just woke up out of bed. So I'm going to call that a night, guys. Hopefully that's enough problems to help you. Please come into tutoring if you need it. Thanks.